The trap that makes smart people ignore red flags. Never assume intelligence protects you from manipulation. That belief is one of the easiest ways to become manipulated. Because smart people do not usually ignore red flags because they cannot see them. They ignore them because they are good at explaining them. A strange behavior becomes stress. A lie becomes a misunderstanding. A controlling request becomes concern. A cruel comment becomes honesty. A broken promise becomes bad timing. And just like that, the warning sign disappears under a smarter excuse. That is the trap. Not blindness. Rationalization. The most dangerous red flags are not always the loud ones. They do not arrive with a warning label. They appear inside ordinary moments. A conversation that feels slightly wrong. A compliment that sounds like a hook. A friendship that moves too fast. An apology that changes nothing. A leader who demands loyalty before earning trust. A partner who calls control protection. A boss who mistakes fear for respect. A group that says questioning them means you are the problem. At first, none of it seems serious enough to leave. That is how the trap begins. Not with one obvious betrayal. With a pattern you keep forgiving because each piece looks small by itself. People like to believe they would immediately recognize danger. They imagine manipulation as something dramatic. A villain in the shadows. A scammer with a fake smile. A cult leader making wild promises. A criminal revealing his darkness too early. Convenient fantasy. Real control is usually more patient than that. It studies what you want. It mirrors what you value. It gives you just enough warmth to make the discomfort feel negotiable. Then it waits for you to explain away the first warning. Once you do that, the next one becomes easier. Smart people are especially vulnerable to this because they trust their own reasoning. They believe they can analyze their way out of emotional danger. But manipulation does not always attack intelligence. It attacks needs. The need to be loved. The need to belong. The need to feel special. The need to win. The need to prove someone wrong. The need to believe your sacrifice meant something. Once a person wants the story to be true, the mind becomes a defense lawyer for the thing hurting them. It does not look for the full truth. It looks for a version that keeps the investment alive. That is why red flags often turn into puzzles. Instead of asking, "Is this dangerous?" a person starts asking, "How can I make this make sense?" That question changes everything. Now the goal is not protection. The goal is explanation. And a clever mind can explain almost anything if the emotional cost of seeing the truth is too high. This happens in relationships. A person notices jealousy, pressure, insults, control, or emotional punishment. The first instinct is discomfort. Something feels off. Then the mind starts working. Maybe they had a difficult childhood. Maybe they are just passionate. Maybe I triggered them. Maybe this is what love looks like when someone is afraid to lose you. Maybe I am overreacting. Notice how quickly the focus moves away from the behavior. The red flag is no longer the center. The explanation is, that is how people get trapped inside stories they wrote to protect someone else. A manipulator does not always need to convince you. Sometimes they only need to give you enough material to convince yourself. The same pattern appears in scams. Victims often see signs early. The returns are too perfect. The pressure is too urgent. The story is too polished. The opportunity depends on secrecy. The person selling it gets defensive when asked basic questions. Something feels wrong. But the victim is not only evaluating evidence, they are also protecting hope. They imagine the money, the status, the escape from stress, the chance to be the person who saw the opportunity before everyone else. Greed is one part of the story, but it is not the whole machine. Sometimes the deeper bait is relief. A scam does not only sell profit, it sells a future where the victim's problems finally shrink. Once that future becomes emotionally real, warnings feel like threats. A concerned friend becomes negative. A skeptical family member sounds jealous. A simple question feels like an attack on destiny. That is the trap. The red flag is visible, but the dream standing behind it is louder. Cult leaders use the same mechanism with belief. They do not begin by asking people to surrender everything. They begin by offering certainty. A chaotic world becomes simple. Pain receives a purpose. Loneliness turns into chosen identity. Old doubts are replaced with rules. The leader explains who to trust, who to fear, what to think, and how to interpret criticism. At first, the follower feels clarity. Later, that clarity becomes a cage. The early warning signs are usually there. The leader cannot handle disagreement. The group isolates members from outsiders. Private information is collected. Questions are treated as weakness. Love is given when someone obeys and withdrawn when they resist. But by then, the follower has already received belonging, meaning, and a new identity. Leaving would not feel like changing an opinion. It would feel like losing the world that made them feel alive. This is why people stay even after seeing signs of danger. The red flag is not competing with logic. It is competing with attachment. There is another reason smart people ignore warning signs. They confuse complexity with depth. When something is hard to understand, they assume it must be profound. A manipulative person can hide behind complicated language. A toxic leader can cover simple control with spiritual phrases. A corrupt system can dress abuse in policy, tradition, patriotism, faith, loyalty, or discipline. The more sophisticated it sounds, the easier it becomes to doubt your own discomfort. Maybe I just do not understand. Maybe I am not mature enough. Maybe this is part of the process. Maybe the problem is my resistance. That is a dangerous moment, because your body may recognize the threat before your mind has permission to name it. Confusion is not always a sign that something is deep. Sometimes it is a sign that someone benefits from making the obvious feel complicated. A healthy truth can survive simple questions. A controlling system often cannot. So it uses shame. If you question it, you are weak. If you doubt it, you lack faith. If you feel uncomfortable, you are too sensitive. If you ask for evidence, you are negative. If you want boundaries, you are selfish. This trick works because people want to see themselves as fair. They do not want to be cruel, paranoid, judgmental, or closed-minded. So they wait. They give one more chance. They listen to one more explanation. They accept one more apology. They stay through one more episode of disrespect because they are trying to be reasonable. And sure, because unreasonable people always announce themselves before destroying your peace. The truth is that patience becomes dangerous when it keeps you inside a pattern that has already introduced itself. A mistake happens once. A pattern repeats with structure. One lie may be fear. Repeated lies are information. One harsh moment may be stress. A cycle of cruelty and affection is control. One broken promise may be human failure. A long history of broken promises is a forecast. Red flags become clearer when you stop judging each event separately. Manipulators survive by making every incident look isolated. They want you focused on the latest excuse, not the entire pattern. That is why memory matters. Control often depends on making you forget the sequence. You remember the apology, but not the repetition. You remember the good day, but not what it cost. You remember the promise, but not how many times it replaced action. You remember the pain they had, but not the harm they caused. A clear timeline can break the spell. Write down what happened, not how you felt afterward, not what they said it meant. What happened? The facts have a way of becoming louder when they stand next to each other. Another trap is potential. Smart people often fall in love with what someone could become. They see intelligence, charm, talent, trauma, ambition, or hidden goodness. They think, if this person healed, they would be amazing. Maybe that is true. It may also be irrelevant. Potential is not character. Talent is not safety. Pain does not excuse cruelty. A tragic past does not give someone a license to damage other people. When you stay because of who someone might become, you can lose years to a version of them that only exists in your imagination. That is not loyalty. That is emotional gambling. And the house usually wins. The same rule applies to organizations, movements, and leaders. Do not judge them only by the mission they announce. Judge the behavior they normalize. A group can speak about justice while silencing victims. A leader can talk about freedom while demanding obedience. A company can praise family while exploiting loyalty. A movement can promise truth while punishing questions. A community can preach love while protecting abusers. The stated mission is the costume. The tolerated behavior is the evidence. This is where many people miss the difference between a flaw and a warning. Every person has flaws. Every group has imperfections. Every leader makes mistakes. A red flag is different. A flaw admits reality. A red flag hides it. A flaw can be discussed. A red flag punishes discussion. A flaw may hurt by accident. A red flag repeats after being named. A flaw creates responsibility. A red flag creates excuses. The difference can save you years. One of the strongest signs of danger is how someone reacts when they lose control of your perception. When you stop accepting the script, the mask changes. A manipulator who once seemed gentle may become cold. A charming leader may suddenly accuse you. A friend who praised your independence may call you disloyal when you use it. A partner who claimed to love honesty may punish the first truth that makes them uncomfortable. That reaction tells you more than their best behavior ever could. People reveal their relationship with control when they are denied it. If respect disappears the moment you disagree, it was not respect. It was approval for your compliance. There is also a red flag hidden inside speed. Fast intimacy, fast loyalty, fast pressure, fast secrets, fast commitment, fast isolation. Healthy connection can grow quickly, but control often rushes because time gives people perspective. A manipulator wants you emotionally invested before your judgment catches up. They want the bond formed before the evidence is reviewed. They want you making promises before you know the cost. That is why slowing down is not weakness. It is protection. Time exposes patterns that charm tries to hide. Another warning sign is forced secrecy, not privacy. Secrecy. Privacy protects dignity. Secrecy protects manipulation. When someone says, "Do not tell anyone because they will not understand," be careful. Sometimes they are right. Often, they are cutting you off from reality checks. Outside voices are dangerous to manipulators because they are not inside the emotional fog. They can see the pattern faster. That is why controlling people attack your support system. They do not need everyone to hate you. They only need you to stop trusting the people who might help you think clearly. The red flag becomes even stronger when the person demands empathy but refuses accountability. They want endless understanding for their wounds. They offer very little concern for yours. Their pain explains everything. Your pain is inconvenient. Their trauma deserves patience. Your boundaries are treated like betrayal. Their anger is justified. Your reaction is the real problem. This imbalance is not compassion. It is a hierarchy. One person's feelings become law. The other person's damage becomes background noise. That is not love. That is emotional ownership. So how do you escape the trap before it closes? Start with this rule. Do not ask only how someone makes you feel at their best. Ask what happens when you say no. That moment is a test. Not because good people never feel disappointed. They do. But healthy people can handle boundaries without trying to punish your right to have them. They may disagree. They may feel hurt. They may need a conversation. But they do not need to shrink you, isolate you, shame you, threaten you, or rewrite reality. The second rule is simple. Trust patterns more than explanations. Explanations can be edited. Patterns are harder to fake. A person can explain one incident beautifully. A group can justify one scandal. A leader can survive one contradiction. But repeated behavior tells you what the system protects. The third rule is uncomfortable. Stop confusing understanding with permission. You can understand why someone became controlling without allowing them to control you. You can feel compassion for someone's pain without volunteering to become the place where they dump it. You can see a person's wounds clearly and still decide their behavior is unsafe. Maturity is not letting every damaged person have access to you. Sometimes maturity is admitting that your empathy needs a boundary. The final rule is this. When a red flag appears, do not immediately bury it under explanation. Hold it in place. Watch what follows. Does the person take responsibility? Does the group allow questions? Does the leader tolerate disagreement? Does the apology produce change? Does love expand your freedom, or does it quietly reduce your world? That question matters, because control rarely announces itself as control. It arrives as protection. It sounds like concern. It borrows the language of love. It tells you that obedience is loyalty. It makes doubt feel like weakness. Then one day you realize the red flags were not random. They were the map. The trap was not hidden because you were foolish. It was hidden because you were human. You wanted connection. You wanted meaning. You wanted the story to work. And someone used that desire against you. The story ends here. But the pattern does not. This is the control files.